There is a very good chance that you're using FSR wrong. I was using FSR wrong. It looks like one of those things where you can just go in there and turn the toggle on, and then you must be using FSR because the toggle is on. But that's actually not the case. It's a bit more complicated than that. So I want to show you in this video what FSR is, when to use it, and how to use it. The first question we got to answer here is, what even is FSR? And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but long story short, what FSR is an upscaler. And what that does is it allows your device to render the game at a lower resolution. Lower resolutions are easier for the Steam Deck or anything to run. And then through some magic, it upscales that image from the lower resolution into a higher resolution image so that hopefully it looks good. It still looks like a high resolution image, but you get the performance gains of rendering the game at a lower resolution. And we're going to be specifically talking about the Steam Deck. So with the Steam Deck, there are basically two options. Number one, the game supports FSR in the game itself. And if that's the case, you're going to see it in the graphics menu, and it's going to say AMD FSR, super resolution, or 2.1 or 2.2 or whatever it is. And if FSR is supported in game, then all you're going to do is use the settings in game and you're going to have a good experience. And that is the case with a lot of games, but some games do not support FSR natively in the game. And so what Valve has done is allowed their users to enable FSR even if it's not supported in the game. And that's the main use case that we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to be using Call of Duty Black Ops 3 because that is a game that I play a lot and it does not support FSR. And it's also a game where we can improve our performance using the system-wide FSR. But before we get into testing, let me take a quick second to thank today's sponsor, tomtoc, and their G47 sling bag, which is the perfect way to take your handheld on the go. The G47 comes with a removable W-shaped divider that fits all the handhelds that I've tested it with no issues. If it's a Steam Deck or RG Ally, no problem, but that's to be expected. What's more impressive to me is that it even fits the Lenovo Legion Go, and the Go is a chunky boy. It's got plenty of room for extra battery packs, a Kindle, AirPods, cables, whatever you want to toss in there, and then some. And it's also made of splash-resistant fabrics and zippers, so it should keep your tech safe and dry even if it starts to rain. If you want to check out tomtoc's sling bag, I'll leave it linked below, and also keep an eye out for their Black Friday sale for a solid discount. Thanks again to tomtoc for supporting this channel by sponsoring this section of the video. Now let's get back to it. Let's jump into exactly how to enable FSR. All right, so here we are in Black Ops. What I want to show you is, first I want to show you their graphics menu just to show you that they do not have FSR in the graphics menu. If you look at advanced, you can see there's a bunch of different stuff, but there is no FSR, which means we don't have an upscaler that we can use with the Steam Deck. That's the first thing to note. Again, if you see FSR in this screen, then use FSR in the game menu itself. But in this case, we don't have FSR. So we are now in game, and if we turn on our performance overlay, we can see that, okay, we're getting 40 to 50, maybe mid 50s FPS. Now let's stabilize. All right, good to know. We feel good about this. Now I want to show you, this is how you're going to turn on FSR, because first, the annoying thing, the only way to tell if FSR is on, as far as I'm aware, is to turn the performance overlay to 4. So I'm going to turn it to 4. Maybe you shouldn't be playing zombies. I'm going to have to deal with these. But anyway, let's turn it to 4. And now you can see right here, FSR is off. Okay? And that is despite, if we pause it, that is despite it looks like, hey, wait a second. Here's FSR, it looks like it's on, so why is it showing off? And I think this is what a lot of people get confused about, and this is what I'm trying to clear up. Here's what we're going to do in order to actually enable FSR. What we actually have to do is we have to set the game to a lower render resolution. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go into options. I'm going to turn off that performance overlay because it's really hard to see with it on. But anyway, if we go into options, we can see the resolution is the native Steam Deck resolution, which is 1280 by 800. So there's our problem. That's what's keeping FSR off, is because we're rendering at native resolution. So if we turn that down to, let's turn it down to 800 by 600. And there you can see the render resolution is 800 by 600. The screen resolution is 800 by 600. Great. And so now we're below the Steam Deck's actual native resolution. So we're going to apply these. And now if we look and we go back and we turn on our performance overlay, now look at that, FSR is on. And that is because we are rendering at a lower than native screen resolution, so the Steam Deck knows to kick it in. And this is all without the game knowing anything. We're kind of sneaking. Like, the game doesn't know it's being upscaled. The game is just rendering at this resolution, and the Steam Deck on its side is doing the upscaling. So it's not dependent on the game at all. So now if we go back into the game and we'll play a little bit, now you can see where we were getting, you know, mid 50s on our FPS. Well, now there all the zombies drop, so now it's in the 90s, but we were getting in the 60s. With my experience with FSR on, generally you get between maybe a 5% performance increase to up to maybe a 20% performance increase, which might not sound like that much, and it's not, you know, obviously more performance is better, but sometimes that extra 10 or 20% performance can be the difference. All right, we shouldn't do 800 by 600 because now we're getting these weird black bars on the side. So let me change it to a more normal. Let's do 960 by 600. That'll be a better aspect ratio for us. But it shouldn't affect performance really. Oh shit, I died. Okay. So anyway, so now we're at a more normal resolution that's not going to be squished and more square. 960 by 600, so we're at a lower resolution than the native screen. You can see FSR is on, and if it wasn't on, I'll show you how to turn it on and off, which is that if you go down here we go. This is our scaling. This is what is going to upscale, and right now we're on FSR, but we could use whatever we wanted. I mean, we could use linear, and then you can see it turns off because we're no longer using FSR. But if we turn it back to FSR, you can see that goes back to on. And then the sharpness will just make the image look crisper and sharper. It's a good name, that's why it's called that. But it can look over sharpened if you go. So I usually don't like it at 5. Usually I like it around 3 or 4, but it depends on the game's art style, what looks best. But that's just a personal preference, so it's whatever works for you. So anyway, now we are playing the game with FSR on. So we're going to be getting better performance because we're rendering at a lower resolution, but it's being upscaled using FSR. So the game will look good. I don't know that I can tell a difference in this game. In some games, FSR makes a huge difference, and sometimes it can look worse, and sometimes it can honestly look better, in my opinion. In this game, I can't really tell a visual difference. There might be slightly more aliasing. It's a little hard to tell, but then you just get a free 10 to 20% in performance increase with, as far as I can tell, no impact to the visual fidelity. So it's kind of just a win in my book. Now, some games like Red Dead 2, they do support FSR in game. And if that's the case, I'm going to show you how to enable it. But you definitely want to use the FSR in game versus the Steam Deck wide FSR, because the in-game FSR will work better. It's probably been optimized for the game itself. So here's what it'll look like, and here's how you find it. Is if you go into graphics, this will be the case for any game that supports it, and you can scroll down, and if we keep going, we will eventually see, look at that, FSR 2.0. Now let me do a little explanation on what the settings mean. You have off, which means it's going to be rendered at the native resolution or whatever resolution you have it set to, and there will be no upscaling. You have quality, which means that's basically going to be the least amount of upscaling. It's going to render at very close to native resolution, but not quite. And then if you keep going, you'll get to performance. And performance, what that's going to be is that is going to be rendering at the lowest resolution, a very low resolution, and upscaling it more. So performance will obviously give you better performance at the cost of visual fidelity, whereas quality will give you better visual fidelity at the cost of performance. And just like how we have in the Steam menu, if we go here and we look at the sharpness, just like this slider is the exact same thing. It's just the sharpness, so you can adjust it to preference, find what works best for you. But again, if the game supports FSR, use the in-game FSR, not the Steam Deck wide FSR. Just a little pro tip for you. All right, I'm hoping this video was simple enough to follow and it was helpful for you. If it was helpful, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.